Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Hope you're doing well. It's a little hot out here already, but we'll make it through the day anyway. It's beautiful. So sunny out this morning. So the other day I was talking to one of my sisters about how things are going to be opening up in the next few days, and that we might end up having to wait in some lines outside. And that kind of reminded me of last year, at the beginning of the pandemic, when I was working for a grocery store called Farm Boy, and I was in administrative staff, but during the pandemic, they put me in charge of the pandemic control, crowd control, things like that. So I ended up standing at the door, kind of being the usher and letting people in, counting people who were going out, all those things, cleaning carts, stuff like that. And honestly, if you do that as your job, I encourage you today. I thank you today, because you are doing a great job, and it's not an easy job managing all those things, and it's not easy managing the people you encounter. And that is one thing that really surprised me, that people have such an inability to be patient and to wait. In these lines coming into the store, I found myself surprised at how impatient people really were. Some people were great. They were super nice, and they chatted with me. They asked me how my day was going as I asked them, and things like that. It was a conversation, but some people would get so impatient. They would get antsy. They would start pacing around. They would start cursing the store, saying, "I'm going somewhere else," and they would just get fed up with everything, and ultimately they would give way to their impatience. And so I've been thinking a lot about waiting, and it kind of clicked in my head, in my heart, that in our spiritual life, in our lives, as we wait on the Lord, I don't think we are much different than that. And it really does take work of the Holy Spirit to produce patience in us. And so I found this awesome article that has 5 things that we can pray in a season of waiting. And so the first one is that we can ask God to remind us of what we're really waiting for. In this life, the reality is that there's always going to be something we could wait for: a spouse, a job, a child, release from depression, financial freedom, you name it. But as Christians, we are ultimately waiting for something that's better than this world can give us. And we need God to remind us of what we're really waiting for. Underneath all the waiting in this world is our overarching hope that cannot disappoint. One day soon, our King Jesus will return, and he will wipe away every tear that we have ever encountered on this earth, every disappointment, every unanswered prayer that we have experienced. Everything that we've been waiting for will be wiped away, because ultimately Jesus will be our prize, a reward, and it will be so sweet, and no one who waits on him will be put to shame. It says that in Psalm 25 verse 3. So no matter what we might be waiting for in this life, we can hold on to this promise and these promises that we can eagerly anticipate. But what about in the waiting right now, in these tangible things that maybe we're waiting on in this life? We can pray these next 4 things to our God and provider and author and sustainer of our faith. And so we can pray these next 4 things to him and ask for his guidance and patience to be given to us in a season of waiting. So number 2 here, we can ask God to strengthen us as we wait patiently. We don't have to look far to see that comfort. Sorry, there's a tractor behind me. We don't have to look far to see that comfort and ease and instant gratification are things that this world, that our culture turns us towards. And it's even a marketing scheme. You can see it everywhere. Amazon Prime, you get something in 2 seconds. And so we have become very intolerant to waiting. So when God calls us to wait a little longer than we might have expected or wanted for a marriage, a job, good health, or some other dream we have in mind, we might begin to resonate with the Israelites who wandered in the wilderness and who got impatient along the way, and they began to speak out against God. And so I think it's okay to be honest with God, who is really compassionate, and say, "Father, I don't know what you're doing in this season. I'm not comfortable. I find it hard to rejoice, but we also must say and pray, but Lord, you are wise and good, and I trust that you are working something wonderful in this season. Strengthen me to wait patiently. Number 3, we can pray that God will keep us from foolish shortcuts. It's so easy to get impatient and try to take control of things that we don't think God is pulling through with. And from personal experience, that only serves the selfish, prideful, doubtful, impatient parts of my heart, all of which do not glorify God and all of which do not say, thy will be done. That is for sure. So we need God to keep us from foolish shortcuts. And Isaiah 30 verse 15 says, in returning and rest you will be saved. In quietness and in trust shall be your strength. Number 4, we can pray, Lord, make me want the future that you have in store for me. As we grow up, I'm sure often we can resonate with this, we can relate to this. We start to write the story of how our lives should go or how we think it should go. Even from a young age, we ask people, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? That's all part of writing your story. But for many of us, every passing year tosses one more chapter into the flames. Seasons of waiting train us to give up our role as the main character and author of our story and take up our role as a character in God's story. And we know that our role in God's story is to proclaim his excellencies and to give him glory and to live for him. And sometimes God calls us to do that from a place of plenty, from a place of fulfillment, of overjoy, of on the mountaintop. And so those sometimes are awesome, and we are able to speak and show that God and not his gifts is our reward. And in other times, God calls us to proclaim his goodness from places of a question, from places of waiting, from places of lack, and where we need to depend on him and trust that he is good, and that in that we can testify that God, no matter what, is more than enough for us. So, number 1, we can ask God to remind us what we are really waiting for. Number 2, we can ask God to strengthen us to wait patiently. Number 3, to keep us from foolish shortcuts. Number 4, to make us want the future that he has for us. And number 5, to awaken us to today. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. That is Psalm 118 verse 24. And I love that verse because it's so true. Today is what we have. And if we're waiting for something that we think might come 2 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, 5 years from now, we might miss today. And today is beautiful because God has given it to us. And there's an excerpt from the article here that I'm just going to read for you. And it says, waiting can pressure us to live in 2 places at once. Our bodies are present in the here and now, but our hearts have long left the present moment, packed up their bags and pitched their tent in the fantasy land of a future life. We continue to go through the necessary motions, but we expect today to bring very little worthwhile. So true. There's so many mundane things that we don't think are worthwhile, and so we just sometimes overlook today. But today, Psalm 19 verse 1 tells us that the heavens sing his glory. Lamentations 3:22-23 says, today God's mercies came up with the sunrise. Romans 5:8, today God displays the story of his love. Luke 9:23, today we have a cross to pick up. Colossians 3:12-13, we have people to listen to today, we have people to serve today, and people to forgive today. And today, Ephesians 2:10 tells us we have good works to walk in. So no matter how mundane and no matter how far off from the world of our dreams today might be, today is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. It's a gift, even if it's a different gift than what we might have expected. And it is possible, even as we wait, to rejoice and be glad in today. So let us hold on to our God, who is sovereign and good and wants to bless his children. But let us, in the waiting, not grow weary of turning to him to be our strength, to be our hope, to ultimately show us what we're waiting for, and to help us to live for today with patience, with self-control, and trusting him that he is our hope, that he is our strength. And so today I would encourage you to pray at least one of these 5 things. Today I am praying that God would awaken me to today, that I would not overlook the next 24 hours that I have to glorify God, to say, Lord, thy will be done in my life today, that I can serve other people, that I can glorify your name, and that I can grow closer to you, to your people, and in a season of waiting, that I may depend on you more and more each day. Hope you have a great day, and I will see you soon.